Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Okay, my name is Muhammad Asyraaf bin Harudin. Okay, so today I'm going to present the identify the halal critical point and also the plan summary. Okay, first we go through to what is HCP. HCP is one of the method that we will use in the production to control the movement of the product that will affect the halal status of the product. Based on this, they can identify the threat that will affect in the production, and they have a way to identify the threats from all material and department. So next, we go through to the source of the source identity of the halal threat. Therefore, first is information collected. Information collected is about material based on raw material and also material list. Next is the employee. Employee is about knowledge and also experience. Number 3 is report and on production. That means is rework, returns, complaint and also recall. Lastly is external information. That is outness, fatwa and also other reliable media. Okay, so next we go through for our process flow. So as you can see, our process flow is start with the R&D, purchasing, receiving, storage, peeling, washing, cutting, boiling, mixing, wrapping, cooking, cooling, freezing, also packing and also finished good. So you can see there are 3 HCP in our process flow. First is on the receiving, second is on the cutting because the cutting equipment was on the top of the boiling process. Number 3 is on the cooking because we cook our samosa on 175 degrees for 5 to 7 minutes. Lastly, as you can see on the freezing, we put 24 hours because we are going to freeze the samosa after all the process. We are going to freeze it for 24 hours. So next is the flow determine the halal control point. So there are 4 elements. First is the material, people, machine equipment and also environment. So you can see there is a list associate, possible risk and also hazard. Rationalize the impact of identify risk, hazard. So next is the halalan toiban ranking. So there are 3, likely, moderate and also unlikely. So for likely, the possibility of halalan toiban status affected except to occur in the most circumstance. Common or repeated occurrence has happened before several times. Number 2 is moderate. The possibility of halalan toiban status affected might occur sometimes. Known to occur happened before. And lastly, unlikely. The possibility of halalan toiban status affected could occur in exceptional circumstance, practically impossible. So we go through to the halalan control point ranking. There are three also. Okay, first is the critical, moderate and also insignificant. The first is critical. The potential contaminant, non-halal or determined mudarat substance affect the totality of halalan status of the good or cargo, and the halalan status of the good or cargo could not be salvaged. Number 2 is release of the good or cargo will result in loss of trust from customer, public and also authorities. And lastly, may cause great impact for future business transaction. Number 2 is moderate. The potential contaminant, non-halal or determined mudarat substance affects the halalan status of the good and cargo, and the halalan status of the good or cargo still could be salvaged. And number 2 may result in delay of delivery or shipment and potential loss of future contracts, possible loss of public trust. And lastly is insignificant. No impact on the halal status of the good or cargo. So we go through with the halal risk matrix with reading of 7, 8, 9 is halal control point. So this is our HCP decision rules for risk ranking. So as you can see, on the ranking number 9 is likely, critical and also high. So the organization need to review the incidents in a detailed manner to find the root cause of the problem. All precautionary measures should be taken to resolve the problem identified. Monitoring and verification activities toward control measure should be conducted in accordance to the scheduled plan, and all staff should be briefed to keep informed on the matter. So next we are going through how to determine the HCP, likelihood or severity. So you can see the likelihood and also the severity impact. So likelihood we have likely, moderate and also unlikely. In the severity we have insignificant, moderate and also critical. So for likely, in their insignificant is moderate, significant, and also high. So as you can see, how we determine the HCP. So next is the types of threat. There are 4 types of threat. First is the material, people, machine and equipment, and also environment. So for our example of the material threats, so we start with the process that is receiving. So for the material is material inspection by the company representative. And for their halal threat is lorry carries halal and haram material together. Number 2 is the deliver item is not registered in approved supplier list or mai halal. So this is example of people threat. There are two personal activities and also personal belonging. So for personal activities, you can see maybe people with bleeding on their hand, and for belonging, for brush that has a pig inside the brush, that have a material pig in the brush. So this is our example of machine equipment also threat. So same also on the process in receiving. So for machine and equipment is for forklift, pallet, container, weighing machine, trolley, hand jack, and also racking. So for the halal threat is maintenance of forklift, hand jack, using lubricant or grease, smooth movement from haram source. So this is our HCP analysis for worksheet for Linux for industry. So as you can see, for the process we use is cutting, and for the list of potential contaminant is on the material, people, machine equipment, also environment. And for the rationale for inclusion or exclusion as potential contamination. So this is our HCP analysis worksheet. So next we go through to the risk management plan summary. So there are steps to determine the plan summary. First is develop and implement monitoring program for each halal control point. So there are 5. What, where, how, when, and also who. And then we develop and implement corrective action if loss of control or deviation occur at HCP. And lastly, develop and implement process verification. So there are 5 components that we should have. Just like I said just now. First is what, how, when, where, and also who. So for how, there are 3. Observation, quality testing equipment, and also document. For observation, visually observation presents absence or najis or haram material. Number 2 is quality testing equipment, using pH meter, stopwatch, voltage meter, and also volume measuring device. And lastly, for document, verifying document, halal certificate, product specification, MSDS, meat importation on permit. Okay, for when, the required frequency to conduct monitoring should be sufficiently frequent to indicate the potential hazard is under control. So study trend, compliance, and deviation from first HCP monitoring record. Number 2, internal audit and spot check. And number 3 is NCR issue. For who, they identify person trained and competent to conduct monitoring activity and record it. So first is the person in charge. Number 2 is who directly involved. Number 3, understand the importance and progress of monitoring. Number 4, record immediately. And lastly, authority to take action and report deviation. So this is our Linux for industry halal control point risk management plan summary. So we use cutting, HCP number 2, that means cutting, and the material is the cutting board placed on the top of the boiling area, and the cutting board is an old one. So for my conclusion is, from this way we learn that how to define the threat from all material, and also how do we do corrective action to keep the halal status of the product will keep maintained. So that's all for me. Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.